And now we have the Waihoro Spreydon-Cashmere Community Board report, and we have Carolyn Potter, Chair. Is Lee with you today? No? And Community Governance Manager, Joe Wells.
Kia ora tātou. Before we start, I used to work at the Human Rights Commission and had a stall at, what am I saying? Culture
Galore.
And the village atmosphere cannot be replaced in Hagley Park. You know, no. I just want to reiterate what everyone else has said. The village atmosphere couldn't be replaced anywhere. It's a wonderful, wonderful occasion. I had the most boring stall, but the occasion was terrific. We've got one Part A, which is a very small change to the design of the Worsley's Cashmere Road Hoonhay intersection, which we are very much looking forward to, as is the local community at Craycroft. That was to take out designated crossings, because the expectation of children would have been that they were totally safe, and they wouldn't have been totally safe on these crossings, and so the traffic guys have removed them, but we are committed to having a look at it again in 6 months after the intersection opens with the lights installed. This is where the adventure park comes off, and all sorts of other things and new developments up that valley, and at this intersection remodelling is now overdue, really. We've got an Innovating Streets for People projects, 2 of them going in our ward, one in Beckenham and one in Selwyn. Both of these had activities going in this last month, and regularly report to the board via the board representation on their committees. And there's naturally some demands where they would like greater input than they are possibly going to get out of it, but nonetheless it's a very interesting project. Where am I? Coronation Hall is, albeit moving like a snail, it will eventually get there. I'd like to report that, and I'd like to hear from other boards on this issue. We have had many requests for basketball courts in our wards, ranging from a man who was over 80 who wrote to the board saying that he believed that we should have basketball courts, to young people who are now working on it from the high schools in our area to have a look at where the best location would be. The council can't possibly keep up with the demand, but it is an indication of how parents and young people believe that basketball is one of the most flexible games you can have, and is enjoyed by so many people in small groups and large. The public forum presentations have, as usual, been really interesting. They're great in our board. We get a lot of people coming to talk to us. And the Hoonhay Community Association Trust provided an update on their activities. The Old Stone House wants to have a farmers market. Given that it was one of the first farms in Christchurch, it is incongruous that the reserve status makes it difficult to have a farmers market there. But we hope to be able to make progress on that. And another issue was traffic concerns. We've also made progress on the community plan. I'd like to just, and if we go through the photographs, this sunflower competition, that's Ruth Verco on the left. This is the 2nd year of her own initiative that she has handed out sunflower seeds, packaged them up, put them in letterboxes, organised weekly prizes and so on. The middle sunflower, modestly, just happens to be mine.
Oh, well done.
I know. You had no idea. I planted a heck of a lot of sunflowers. This is the only one that grew, but look at it. It's
got a very low fence.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And I thought that damn thing's going to come into the house one day and eat me. It's gigantic. But the important thing was that, again, the picnic was spoiled a bit by the cold, but there were 40 people there and with kids receiving prizes from Ruth as she presented to them, and it's been the most imaginative initiative that you could imagine, and the way the prizes are presented for all sorts of weirdo things in terms of sunflowers, and she is just to be congratulated for her efforts in the community. People really love this one, and the kids love it too. This is the Rowley Resource Centre commissioned a small carving to honour the losses in the Muslim massacre 2 years ago, and we had a presentation at the Rowley Resource Centre. There was a person who spoke there who was the mother of one of the boys who died, and two of the siblings were there, one of whom is doing philosophy and wants to go to Cambridge, and the other one, and the youngest child, a daughter, wants to do drama when she leaves school. They live on Rowley Ave. And her discussion about her family was incredibly touching. This was, what are they called? The tribal
Nations.
Tribal Nations. There was a photograph of me with the leader at one stage, all dressed completely in his leather. I think there was about 60 bikes, 70 bikes, and they did a roar through Rowley and then turned up at Mathers Park, where there were several small events associated with the battle to combat teen suicide. And they were dressed in absolute leathers, and they have the most fantastic bikes. And it ended with the bikies playing basketball with the young people of our area, and that was just such great fun on the courts that are to the right. And look at the colours that they were throwing around the place as well. The kids really loved it. It was a very positive thing from a positive group to turn up on their bikes, as they have done everywhere in the South Island, and tribal nations to talk about it. Now this is my humiliation, because I said men's sheds had had their day, and this is a huge group of men at the opening of their men's sheds who absolutely have done wonders in our community. The St Martin's Volunteer Library people came up to me the other day and said they couldn't have done it without the men's shed. They are building small things for people all throughout our area and are open to any suggestions, and they have been a wonderful group. Me sitting there saying men's sheds days had their day. This is around the corner from me. We initially visited this. This is part of the flood storage and stormwater basins that is proceeding right throughout our wards. We're very privileged to be at the head of the Apauaho Heskett, but part of the penalty of being near the river has been that it has flooded. The drainage team and other teams in council are doing the most imaginative work right throughout our wards in developing flood basins to take the headwater floods so that downstream floods are ameliorated. It's been a great, excellent, wonderful project. This had been disappointing. The plantings in the water are going great guns. But the plantings on the wider walkway area, which you can't see there properly, most of them died on the first plantings, and the second plantings are taking a while to grow. But we met with the team who are involved, and they are trying to repeat the wonderful work of Hugh Wilson over in Akaroa, where he grew the plants from seed through the weeds and the foliage and gorse that was already there. That's what they're trying to do, but they hadn't explained it to the neighbours, who only could see weeds and plants dying but were through lack of water in the top paddocks. So they hadn't discussed it with the local neighbours. So we met on site, the whole board went and met them on site, and they have agreed to put out a leaflet which we will letterbox right through our neighbourhood and explain the theory behind it, because the council at the moment is really pressed for plants that have grown. So there's all sorts of reasons for trying this new method of getting it going, but it wasn't easily understood by the neighbours, and not by me either particularly. But now it's starting to, now that we've got the theory behind it, we understand why the weeds are predominant. We are very interested in the commitment that the team have made towards this. It's going to be wonderful. all through our ward there are flood basins being developed, on their way to being developed. They are being turned into walkways for people as well, and it's just fantastic work by the council post-earthquake. Just fantastic work. What are we talking? Traffic safety. Oh, this is the big issue. We had a principals meeting. We copied Linwood, and we've started a principals meeting as well. And we had a principals meeting the other morning, which is hugely interesting in terms of the things that they say to us about our local communities. They have a view of the local communities that the rest of us don't see. And some of it's heartbreaking and some of it's enchanting. But it's totally worthwhile, and we're going to persevere with the principals' breakfast. But the road safety and traffic safety is a very big thing that they bring to us, and these are the areas, some of the areas that we're interested in. And finally, I want to risk your patience just by mentioning the draft tree policy again, which I have been opposed to in so many respects. The board has requested, in the light of the Commission for Climate Change, that I say again that we believe the draft tree policy and its lack of emphasis on native plantings in the city, urban area be addressed. The climate change policy, which I think is an excellent policy, a wonderful policy, emphasises the importance of native plantings. And it's not by accident that Christchurch has very few, native birds in our urban area. It's not by accident that we are one of the very few urban areas in the whole of New Zealand that does not have populations of native birds in the urban area. And I do think that the tree policy is really worthwhile, except when it talks about planting exotic trees in the urban area. They say it's going to be addressed by the Urban Forest and Bush Plan.
It's a conversation from 7 years ago.
I can't believe the dominance of Northern Hemisphere academia and some of the things that we do. And the Urban and Bush Forest Plan, but I don't believe that the tree policy reflects what we should be doing in the urban area either. Thank you for your patience. You didn't interrupt me, Leanne. I'm really grateful.
You did actually tempt me with that last one, because you can't use a presentation to make a last-minute deputation.
I know.
Otherwise known as a last-ditch attempt on something that's been to a hearings panel.
I know.
Yes, you can. But I was going to reassure you that I was regarding it as an early submission on the urban forest plan, which is
Bush. In Bush.
Well,
that will come through submission.
I know, it's only me that does it, but that's what I want it to be called, because we are not Northern Hemisphere.
Well, I take this as an early representation in that regard, not as a deputation on an item on the agenda for today.
Thank you for your patience.
Thanks, Carolyn. Just regarding the Northern Head dominance, I'd just like to actually acknowledge our Chief Executive and say I do like her dominance within the organisation.
What a sucker, honestly.
Totally. Mike and Melanie.
Thank you, Caroline. Just a question on your Part A. What was the feedback to the board from the Blind Low Vision New Zealand around removing the pedestrian crossings?
No, I think they're behind it in terms of safety. Yeah.
But have you had official feedback from them?
No, I haven't. Actually, to tell you the absolute truth, we took the recommendation of staff and discussed it at length, and the only request that we made was that it be looked at again in 6 months, because the arguments were persuasive. So okay. I certainly can't answer that question.
Okay, I'll start. Yeah. Thanks.
Melanie?
Just a quick comment, because I know Carolyn's presentations
are very...
would you like
to...
all it was is to say is
would
that...
you move it then?
Yeah, I'll move.
And seconded by Tim.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yes.
Ruth, who you saw with the sunflower dress on, I saw on Tuesday, she's 8 months pregnant, so she's 7 months pregnant in that photo. And she also had advertised our Sustainable and Edible Garden Awards. We had the most applications this year. One of her awards was to, if you had entered our award, a community board award, she gave them an award. So she's brilliant.
So, she is.
Tim.
Thank you. And I guess the photo that we had last with regards to the Spreydon-Cashmere roundabout was actually a very, very good one. because it really highlights, in our report, which Carolyn very aptly put forward, the innovation streets, and there are a number of other projects which council staff do that are absolutely outstanding, and there are frustrations with the community sometimes because they see a chance and they go big, but we do have to be realistic. But these are absolutely outstanding projects which staff do really well. And then we've had a couple of projects in our area which have totally kneecapped everything that we've done, and I've arranged a meeting with the CE over the two. One also affects Westmoreland, and it's just so disheartening to go to meetings, and I couldn't make one of them, and thank you very much for that, Carolyn, as I've been ill. But you, as an elected member, you don't have a leg to stand on, literally, because of the process which council has gone through. So it's a kind of one step forward and then you just stop. So I just want to highlight that. Really disappointing in some of it. So
the board backs Tim in his statements there. I would have raised it myself, but we're not at the end of it yet. But it has been very depressing.
Debate. We're in debate.
Thank you very much. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. And we've got the Te Pātaka